Among all players who recorded at least 20 possessions on ISO, pick and roll, and post-ups this season, only one managed to rank in the 85th percentile or better in all three. And that was Jalen Brunson. That's how elite Brunson was as an offensive engine for the New York Knicks this season, versatile and efficient at all three levels. And yet, when MVP votes were tallied, Brunson found himself tied for 10th, alongside Harden and Mobley, each receiving just one fifth-place vote. It's puzzling, especially considering that Brunson finished 5th in MVP voting last year. And truthfully, there's a strong case to be made that this season was actually better than the last. Yes, his scoring average dipped slightly from 28.7 to 26 points per game, but that hardly tells the full story. What really stands out is his efficiency. From his leap as an ISO scorer to his more refined post-game to across-the-board improvements in shooting percentages, Brunson's offensive arsenal grew sharper in every way. And that's without even mentioning his near doubling of contested three-point efficiency. Bit by bit, Brunson has transformed himself into one of the league's elite, tough shot makers. Even his playmaking saw a noticeable jump. So rather than focus on his surprisingly low finish in MVP voting, let's dive into the real story. The major strides he took this year that placed him in a category no one else in the league reached. Brunson's offensive game thrives off the pick and roll, and this season, that's been more evident than ever. When you break down the different elements of his scoring arsenal, nothing quite matches the frequency and success of the Knicks running pick and roll actions centered around him. Now, most fans might think this surge is all about the addition of Karl-Anthony Towns last offseason. After all, a Brunson-Towns pick and roll sounds like a nightmare for opposing defenses. But here's something that might surprise casual fans. One of the Knicks' most common pick and roll duos isn't Brunson and Towns. It's actually Brunson and Josh Hart. Why is that? Well, it comes down to matchups and defensive strategy. Opposing teams often assign their bigs to guard Hart, mainly because he poses less of a threat from deep or in pick-and-pop situations compared to Towns, who, let's be honest, might be one of the best shooting big men of all time. And when the screener isn't a serious pick-and-pop threat, defenses are far more comfortable dropping back in coverage. A great example of the pressure this duo puts on defenses comes in this play, where Brunson and Towns run a pick and roll with Duren guarding the screener. The Pistons end up playing drop coverage in this action. Keep your eye on Tobias Harris. He sags off Achiuwa, who's not a real threat from deep, and shades toward Towns as he pops out to the three-point line. A smart read given Towns' shooting ability. But instead of simply stunting at Towns to buy Duren time to recover, Harris commits fully and switches onto him. The problem here is that he fails to communicate the switch in time. And by the time Harris tries to pass that message on to Duren, it's already too late. Achiuwa sees the opening, makes a timely cut to the rim, and Brunson threads the pass perfectly for an easy layup. That's the dilemma the Brunson-Towns pick and roll creates for defenses in drop coverage. If the big, like Duren in this case, stays with Towns to respect his shooting, Brunson is gifted a clear lane to the rim. And even though Cade defends the action well, any rim attempt for Brunson is almost automatic at this point. What these two sequences highlight is that Towns isn't just a threat because of his range, he's a catalyst. His gravity forces defenses to overhelp, opening up cutting lanes and off-ball movement that teammates can capitalize on. Now compare that to a Brunson-Hart pick and roll. In this play, since Hart isn't a pick-and-pop threat, defenses are more comfortable playing drop coverage. Even if Hart rolls to the basket and attacks the big like on this play with Jackson Hayes, his lack of size puts him at a significant disadvantage, making it tough to finish over rim protectors. Same thing on this play. Hart rolls to the basket again, but Horford recovers quickly. This time, Hart is forced to go up over both Horford and Kornet, who's rotated over as the help defender. But with both defenders closing in, Horford strips the ball clean from Hart's hands. And even if Hart flares out to the three-point line, he just doesn't bring the same level of shooting threat that someone like Towns does. Hart is hitting just 33.3% of his threes this season, while Towns is knocking them down at a 42% clip. That's a significant difference, and it matters when you're talking about floor spacing and forcing defenses to stretch. Now, the reason I bring up Hart's limitations as a pick-and-roll threat, especially against drop coverage, is to highlight just how crucial Brunson's elite shot-making is to making this action work. As I mentioned earlier, Brunson ranks in the 85th percentile among pick-and-roll initiators across the league. That level of efficiency doesn't happen by accident. He has to consistently punish whatever defensive scheme is thrown at him. In the Brunson-Hart pick and roll, it's Brunson's scoring that keeps the play alive. It can't rely on Hart's finishing or playmaking because those often result in size mismatches or low efficiency looks. What makes this duo function is essentially Brunson's ability to rise up and hit those tough, contested pull-up threes coming off screens. Whether it's a screen from Hart or one of the Knicks' bigs who doesn't stretch the floor, Brunson has been elite at converting those shots. His ability to score in tight windows, especially against drop coverage, is what keeps the offense flowing, and it's what makes him so dangerous. This season, Brunson cemented himself as one of the league's most elite shot makers, ranking in the top 17% for pull-up three-point efficiency, knocking down 37.1% of those shots. But the real story isn't just about him making shots off screens, it's about how he makes them, even with defenders draped all over him. Brunson hit an incredible 52.3% of his field goals when the closest defender was within 4 feet of him. Even more impressive, he shot 42.6% from three under the same tight coverage. That wasn't just good, it led the entire league among players with at least 20 contested three-point attempts. And what makes this even more remarkable is that he did it without a perfect pick-and-roll partner majority of the time. Whether it was Hart, who isn't a traditional roll man or a reliable pick-and-pop threat, or some of the Knicks' other bigs not named Towns, Brunson still thrived. He still managed to rank among the top pick-and-roll initiators in the NBA. But Brunson's offensive brilliance doesn't end there. He also ranked in the top 15% league-wide in 2 other areas, ISOs and post-up offense. Whether he's exploiting mismatches off a switch or simply taking his man one-on-one, Brunson's bag runs deep. His exceptional shot making is just one part of his arsenal. His footwork, strength, and control make him a nightmare in solo matchups. What stood out about Brunson's ISO game this season was his ability to consistently break down defenders and finish at the rim. His change of pace is incredible. He'll lull his defender with a slow, deliberate dribble, then explode from 0 to 100 in a heartbeat, blowing right by them. Take this play, for example. Brunson is being guarded by Drew, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. Despite the off-ball movement happening around him, Drew stays locked in on Brunson. But watch closely. With just a subtle hesitation and a sudden burst into his second dribble, Brunson creates just enough separation. That quick acceleration gives him the edge, and from there, it's a straight-line drive to the rim, finishing the playoff with a simple floater with no contest. Practically automatic for someone who's hit far tougher shots all season long. But what makes Brunson even more dangerous is that when he doesn't beat his defender off the dribble, his elite footwork and balance allow him to carve out space and get to his spots. That's why among high-volume drivers this season, Brunson ranks top 10 in field goal percentage on drives, ahead of names like Luka, Kyrie, LeBron, Ant, and Steph. But beyond that, what really sets Brunson apart isn't just his scoring, it's his ability to playmake when the defense collapses, and his uncanny knack for drawing fouls on those aggressive drives. This is a player who finished top 6 in both assists and fouls drawn on drives, a rare combination that speaks volumes about his offensive versatility. He knows he can get a bucket against just about anyone, even making shots over double teams at times. But what elevates him is his elite feel for the game. He understands when to shift gears and create for others, routinely setting up teammates with clean, high-quality looks, something role players thrive on when playing alongside a high IQ star like him. That's a big reason why the Knicks ranked 7th in the NBA this season in catch-and-shoot three-point percentage. It's not just the system, it's Brunson creating advantages with his gravity. And look, I could go even deeper into his game, like his post-up efficiency. He logged just 46 post-up possessions in total this season, which may not seem like a ton, but for a guard, that's a respectable sample size. And get this, he generated more points per possession on post-ups than Embiid and Jokić. Or I could even talk about his ISO defense, which doesn't get nearly enough credit. While he's not a lockdown guy across the board, in isolation, he held his own, ranking in the top 12% of the league for fewest points allowed per possession. But with the season winding down, there's still time for a deeper dive into those aspects of his game and more. But until then, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support, and I can't wait to break down more film with you next time.
Brunson fakes, drives, pulls back, jump shot, puts it in! Captain Crunch Time ties the game.